Hello, you've caught me right at the end of Ni no Kuni 2. I'm trying to get it done tonight so I can crack on with all the other games I haven't finished, but I've been here 40 minutes now and Dolaran is still monologuing.
Love the sound of their own voice, don't they, villains? You know, don't worry about the fact I'm a child badass who's clobbered 4 mountain-sized mythical monsters, built a kingdom from scratch, and grinded my way to level 78 so I can kick your ass with ease. You keep talking as though you're the impressive one.
He's not alone though, is he, Dolaran? Every villain loves a good monologue.
And loads more besides. Here are 7 things every video game villain says at some point. Starting with our first entry.
We are truly the same, you and I.
But you're no different from me, Link.
We're a lot alike, you and I.
Are we? Are we really?
Let's take Liquid Snake, for example. Now, spoilers, I know technically he and Solid Snake are clone twins, so physically, yes, they are the same. But what the villain means when they say we're the same is usually along the lines of, well, you've killed loads of people to get to this point, haven't you? So that means you're just like me. But it doesn't, does it, Liquid? You're the leader of a military uprising, hell-bent on launching a stealth nuclear weapon so you can make some kind of utopia for soldiers where, let me hazard a guess, you'll go and kill loads more people because you think it's a fun thing to do.
Me, on the other hand, I'm exclusively killing people who deserve it to stop you killing people who don't. Not because I enjoy it.
Alright, throttling guards mid-wee was kind of fun, but I doubt you did that, Liquid, so we're definitely not the same, okay? Entry number 2 is when they say something along the lines of,
Spira is a land of suffering and sorrow caught in a spiral of death. To destroy, to heal, Spira.
I'm not destroying the world. I'm healing the world.
Because if nothing exists, there's no suffering, right? Technically, I suppose that's true, but it would also mean there's no Dr. Pepper or funny cat videos on Twitter, so we've got to look at this sensibly. I mean, I can sort of see where the villains are coming from when their grand plan is to wipe the world clean and start over. It's sort of how I feel when I've screwed things up in Theme Hospital or made a farm in Don't Starve that's too far away from a big field of beefalo poo.
Sorry, all you people with bloaty head disease, this hospital is being deleted.
The reason villains say this, and here's Necron from Final Fantasy IX blabbing on about reducing the world to 0, blah blah blah, is because underneath all the swagger and fancy masks and needlessly Shakespearean dialogue, they're just people who've lost all hope. That's often the main difference between the hero and the villain. The hero always has that spark inside them, that indefatigable belief that things can and will get better.
Whereas villains are basically like, oh, this looks rubbish, let's start again.
Often when they say this, villains are at a point of utter despair. They've probably learned some horrible truth about themselves or had their primary plan foiled by a bunch of meddlesome kids. And so it's a sort of stubborn, childish, well, if I can't be happy, then no one can kind of thing. They're rage quitting the world, basically. Honestly, Kuja, grow up. Entry number 3 contains some pretty major story spoilers for Final Fantasy IX and X, the original Metal Gear, PS2 God of War, The Legend of Dragoon, and Bioshock Infinite. Ready? I'll just wait a bit for you to put your crisps down and click to the next bit, and okay, that's enough. Entry number 3 is when the villain says,
I am your father / sibling / alternate timeline version of you.
Oh man, it's annoying when that happens. You've been happily hating the big bad all along, and all of a sudden, this massive narrative revelation has opened the floodgates of emotional conflict. The villain has become humanized, no longer a faceless symbol of pure evil, but a character with a probably traumatic past and a fierce bond with you, the protagonist. Emperor Diaz in The Legend of Dragoon turns out to be Dart's dad. Big Boss from Metal Gear famously turns out to be the genetic template for Clone Sun's Solid Liquid and Solidus Snake. Kuja from Final Fantasy IX is Zidane's sort of brother. Zeus is Kratos' dad.
Although, to be fair, Zeus is basically everyone's dad.
Then it gets weird with Bioshock Infinite when it turns out Comstock is actually you, Booker, just with added timelines and parallel universes and stuff I can't really remember properly, just look it up on Wikipedia. I mean, for goodness sake, villains, just let me hate you.
Even Final Fantasy X, where the bad guy is a giant floating space whale, somehow manages to make the bad guy also your dad.
It's testament to how many times bad guys say this that Tidus just outright believes a big murderous lump of baleen is actually his dad, just off the back of Auron saying, "You know it's true."
Sin is Jecht. He came here for you.
I'm a Final Fantasy protagonist, so I guess it must be true.
Number 4, welcome, protagonist, to my humble abode, which is a classic thing the villain says to you, sometimes before they've properly revealed themselves as the villain, but always so they can get a good old look at the hero and suss out their weaknesses.
This happens lots in James Bond. They'll have dinner together, usually at opposite ends of a very long table with a waterfall in the background that leads down into a lake with piranhas in it.
In video games, you get scenes like this awkward one in Final Fantasy X, where Seymour invites you to his palace that has creepy background music playing on loop.
Truly, it is good to have guests again.
Villain.
Music he thinks creates an ambience suitable for a wedding proposal. And then there's the opening of Far Cry 4, where Pagan Min does lots of evil things before inviting you to his lovely mountaintop abode for a sit down and a nice cup of definitely evil tea.
Oh, is that the time? I really must be going now. Lovely to see you. Bye.
Next up is something a boss says often in conjunction with a big twist, so prepare yourself for spoilers for Metal Gear Solid, Assassin's Creed and Bioshock. They say something like, "Thank you, protagonist, for fetching all the stones of bloody blue for me. They're actually evil, and I'm actually the bad guy. You've proved yourself useful, now die."
Yep, all that hard work just so someone you thought was your friend can destroy the world.
You've served your purpose. You may die now.
Liquid Snake is my favourite example of this. What a dastardly villain he is. He's in basically all of these. Playing Snake like a damn fiddle, making him scurry all over Shadow Moses, fannying about with PAL keys and whatnot, only for it to transpire you're not deactivating Metal Gear Rex, but deactivating it.
Otherwise known as activating it.
And Master Miller isn't Master Miller, but is actually Liquid. Who knew? Everyone knew. Atlas from Bioshock is another famous example, brainwashing you into doing his bidding with the phrase, "Would you kindly?" before revealing he's actually Frank Fontaine and really very naughty. While Al Mualim in Assassin's Creed has you murdering a bunch of people and chasing magical artifacts only to say, "Thanks, Altair. Now watch me become the final boss."
It's a bit more epic than that, but these villains are getting enough screen time in this video as it is.
Entry number 6, and we touched upon this at the start, is when they say, "Here's my evil plan," and basically ramble on at length about all the awful things they're going to do either to you, the world, or both. Often you'll be at the villain's mercy at this point, either in prison or beaten up, basically in a condition where the villain doesn't think it matters their entire plan has just been revealed because you'll be dead soon anyway.
Sometimes villains tell their plan to nobody, however. I've seen them do it.
The time has come. All 4 King's Bonds belong to me.
Who are you talking to, mate? There's literally no one there.
Whereas the bad guys in Kingdom Hearts like to tell each other the plan even though they know it.
Now for the finishing touches. First, we must dispose of Namine.
Or they like to tell it to small children, just to creep them out a bit.
I've come to see the door to this world.
Huh?
This world has been connected tied to the darkness.
I don't like it.
Like we said at the start, villains just love the sound of their own voice. You'd never get a hero monologuing all the brilliant and lovely things they've got planned before they finish off the final boss, would you? I'm going to save the entire world. I'm going to be nice to literally everyone, even if they've been mean to me, and let them come and live in my kingdom I've built. And then I'm going to run errands for them all day long, like I'm some kind of entry-level work experience boy, not a king. And everyone's going to live happily ever after. That reminds me. The last entry on our list of things every video game villain says at some point is...
I've always wanted to ask villains, what exactly is so funny?
Seriously, I've always wondered this. Why do villains laugh? Sometimes they laugh just to themselves, with no one else in the room. I mean, I know you're evil and everything, but even you can't think that destroying the whole world is funny. Apparently it's hysterical though, and every villain does this, usually right at the end of a long-winded monologue. It's basically like icing an evil cake, isn't it? Not quite sure if that grand old speech was mad enough. Have an insane cackle at the end, tops it off nicely, thank you very much. So there we are, 7 things every video game villain says at some point. Let us know in the comments if you've got any other examples. Give us a like if you enjoyed the video, and join us again in 2 weeks' time, because we're at E3 next week for another Friday feature. Oh no, where's the end card?
That's right, it's me, Gary Fist. Thank you. Friday feature about things villains say. You've proved yourself useful in providing a segue for my return. A welcome to my humble abode. This is my new base of operations. From here, I will strike out at the heart of PlayStation Access. I will heal the hearts of those who are subjected to Friday features week in, week out, by destroying them forever! Because, Robert Pearson, we're the same, you and I, and there simply isn't room for the both of us. So prepare yourself for the final reckoning. Also, somewhere down the evolutionary line, I am your 438th cousin, 532,756 times removed. Surprise!